start standing up. All right. So a little bit different for our restorative practice today. We're going to start standing up. And what I'd like you to do is just take your feet underneath your hips or slightly wider than your hips and ground down into sort of all four corners. So what you're going to do is just shift your hips left and right so that you can feel the weight shift. And just start to kind of move organically. If that means like bending one knee and the other, I have my hands on my hips. If that means kind of lifting the heart, maybe dropping one ear to the other shoulder, moving your head back and forth. Just starting to kind of move a little bit of energy down. If we've come straight from working and doing things like I have, there's a little bit of movement that needs to kind of like finish moving through the system. So just swing your arms, maybe shake your arms, shake your legs, maybe close your eyes and just kind of notice what you're feeling right now. And then once you've done a little bit of that, go ahead and come back to center, and you're just going to take your feet wider than your hips, toes point forward. So you're not turning your feet out towards the edges, but so they come forward. And then just take your hands to your hips. And here what I'd like you to do is deeply bend your knees and start to fold forward. Let your chest kind of come down towards your thighs. Let your head drape. And then inhale and come back up. So exhale, lead with your heart, bend your knees deeply. Let your chest move towards the floor. And then inhale, lift up. Maybe roll your shoulders down and back. We'll do that 2 more times. Just kind of a nice, like, really organic kind of forward fold with your feet nice and wide. And then do that 1 more time. And here as you come down, just maybe keep your hands on your hips. Let your shoulders kind of round towards your thighs and maybe shift your weight left and right. Sort of bending your left knee and then straightening your right. And bending your right knee and straightening your left. Just shifting the hips back and forth a little bit. And then from here, just let your fingertips come down to the mat. And if you'd like to, just begin to rock your chest forward and back. So maybe taking your legs to or towards straight here. Stretching into the hamstrings. And if you're like me and you have a wall behind you and you kind of bump into it, that's okay too. Just take a few breaths here. Kind of let everything just kind of pour out onto your mat. And then once you've taken a couple of breaths and moved forward and back, you're just going to come back to center. And for a moment, just notice what it feels like to find stillness. If you'd like to draw your shoulders down and away from your ears. If you'd like to close your eyes. This kind of practice is very internally oriented, meaning that as I give these cues, you should just kind of listen to my voice, but also listen to what your body needs. If you feel like you want to move, if you feel like you want to be still, follow the instinct in that direction. I'm just kind of giving you the outlines of shapes to make with your body. And then once you've done a little movement, go ahead and come on down to your knees. And here, just kneel for a moment. Let the tops of your feet come to rest on the mat. Take your hands back to your thighs. Maybe roll your shoulders down and away from your ears. And lift the crown of your head towards the sky. And here, just notice what it feels like to be on your shins, on the tops of your feet. So again, sort of taking that energy that was way up high and moving it down. And then from here, if you'd like to turn yourself so that you're facing the long way of your mat, you can. I'm going to turn over towards my left so that the top of my mat is at the left side. And from here, take your hands under your shoulders, your knees under your hips, and we're just going to slide our hips back towards our heels and come into a nice extended child's pose here. Even if you'd like, just shift your hips left and right. a little bit of movement here. Let your breath become soft. Let your movement become intuitive and organic. As we settle in for sleep, as we settle in for rest, it pays to just do a little bit of, I like the word metabolization of your movement, a metabolization of your day. More of a physical version of it than a mental version of it. We usually do enough of that mental sort of ruminating on a daily basis. So here, just think of this as moving any stuck energy through your body. And here, as you're in this extended child's pose, what I'd like you to do is go ahead and, like you're being lifted from the backs of your shoulder blades, let your head drop towards your chest. Let your chest kind of lift, and then let your heart lead, much like we did in that standing position. So lifting up from the back of the heart, keeping your palms on the mat, and then letting your heart sink. And as you let that heart sink, just sigh out audibly. We'll do that 3 more times. Inhaling as you lift from the back of the heart and exhaling, sighing it out. You can go at your own pace. And on that last exhale, see if you can let your elbows come down to the mat. Maybe your head meets the floor. Into this nice curled up ball just for a moment. Just letting the belly rest on the thighs, letting the pelvis rest back towards the heels. Take a couple of breaths. And if your head is just hovering over the mat, you can just start to do that same movement of dropping the ears towards the shoulders. So dropping the left ear towards the left shoulder, the right ear towards the right. And then from here, go ahead and come back up. And we're going to come around to sit. So if you'd like, you can sit on top of your bolster. I'm actually going to stay flat today. And we're going to go ahead and take left leg out long. Take the right foot in towards the groin. And grab both your blocks. And you can put them on whatever setting you'd like. I'm going to choose to put mine on sort of the middle setting today. And we're going to come down into a longer held position here. So make sure that whatever kind of movements you need to get out of your system, whatever kind of adjustments you need to make, I'm going to tug the flesh out from underneath my pelvis. Go ahead and make those moves. And you're going to place those blocks so that the front edge is just in line with the bottom of your knee. So if you have them up on a higher setting, those blocks will be slightly forward, but that front edge is still in line with the bottom of my knee. And then from here, just go ahead and walk your chest slightly forward, like you're folding down over that left leg. And for me, I'm just going to come down onto my elbows and start here. And we're going to be here for a few breaths. But if you'd like, you can kind of just take a moment to kind of settle in. Draw those shoulders away from your ears. Once again, imagine being sort of led by your heart. So if you'd like, you can drag your elbows back towards your belly and move your heart forward and down more towards your knee. So almost like you're tractioning your elbows back and then softening into the fold. And as you kind of hang out here, as you breathe, as you let things kind of settle in, you can always see if you'd like to maybe turn those blocks down. So I've gone ahead and turned mine down to their lowest setting. And I'm not really pulling. There's no I'm not dragging my elbows back to kind of deepen the twist here. I'm just kind of allowing gravity to coax my body into a little bit deeper of a state of relaxation and softness. Maybe let the crown of your head fall towards your knee, much like we did when we were standing. Imagine letting the contents of your brain just kind of pour out onto the mat. And if you'd like to kind of move your head left and right, maybe shake your head no, or shake your head yes, just to lengthen the back body here. Take a few breaths to do that. You'll notice there's a sense of compression in the front body. That's totally okay. If it feels uncomfortable, you can always come up a little higher on your blocks. And as you begin to settle a little bit deeper into this pose, see if maybe you want to move those blocks out of your way. And for me, that actually feels like the right move. So I'm going to go ahead and slide those blocks off to the side and see if I can just kind of drop my elbows down to the floor. And here I may just take a moment to kind of twist a little deeper, maybe so that more of my heart is centered over my kneecap. And take a few breaths. Once again, let the crown of that head move towards the knee. Maybe if you're like me, eventually it might touch your knee. It should feel like a slight stretch, but it shouldn't be really bright. The sensation shouldn't be really intense. We'll take 3 more deep, slow breaths here. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling again and exhaling. Inhaling for the last time and exhaling. And then when you're ready, just slowly begin to press into your palms. Walk your hands back very slowly, letting your head kind of come up last. Just slowly, 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 slowly. Allowing the shoulders to stack, lifting the head out from under the chest. And then when you come up to sit, just roll those shoulder blades down and away from your ears. And we're just going to very slowly, very thoughtfully move over to the other side. So if you'd like to move your blocks first, go ahead and do that. Straighten your right leg out long. Take your left foot in towards your groin. Or if you started on the opposite side, just switch sides. And whatever setting you had your blocks on the first side, go ahead and take those blocks to the same setting on the second side. And if you need to, just make any kind of adjustments. You'll notice that as we move to this side, you'll be a little slower. Your breath might be a little deeper. You may feel a little calmer. I know I do. And when you're lining up your blocks, just make sure that the edge of those blocks that's closest to your foot comes right in line with the lower part of your knee. So if you were to draw a line across your knee from block to block, it would just skim across the lower part of your kneecap. And from here, you're just going to take one elbow down to the block and then the other. And for a moment, just drag both those elbows back towards your body, back towards your midline. And then like you were doing it before, just let your heart lead. Let your heart melt. And you can do it with your breath if you like, if that feels like the right move. Just let everything settle down. And if you feel like you need any wiggling, any kind of movement or adjustment, make those movements and adjustments. Now I've scooched my elbows slightly forward so that my chest can melt a little bit deeper towards that right knee. And once you find a place where you feel like you want to settle, you can stay there. Or if you'd like to just continue to let gravity do its work, let things move down, you can turn those blocks down to their middle setting. Their lowest setting. And once again, just start to let your elbows sink and rest on those blocks. Maybe let your forehead move down towards that right knee. And if you're getting to that place where you're like, I think I can get rid of those blocks, you can just kind of scooch those blocks off to the left and right. Slide them out from under your elbows. Maybe let the elbows come down to rest or reach towards the mat. Now, for me, my right elbow is more in contact with the mat than my left, and that's okay. I'm not going to push it. I'm not going to go past that place. I'm going to take a deep breath and let the crown of my head just tip towards my knee. Maybe on this side, your forehead comes to touch that knee. Maybe it doesn't. And we're going to take 3 deep breaths here. So here's one. Just inhale. And exhale. Here's 2. Inhale. And exhale. And then here's 3. Inhale. And exhale. And just let the contents of your mind, the contents of your brain, just spill down towards the mat, towards the earth. And on your next inhale, just slowly, slowly, slowly start to walk those palms back towards your torso. Let your head and your shoulders come up last. And as you start to feel sort of that orientation of gravity on your body, allow the shoulder blades to drop down your back. Allow the head to lift, the crown of the head to move towards the sky. And then go ahead and slide those blocks out of your way. I'm going to do one more seated pose here before we start to move down onto our backs. So go ahead and take the soles of your feet together. And if you need a little support under those knees, you can use the blocks. I like to keep them sort of on their lowest setting to support the outer edges of my knees. And here, I'm going to take that bolster that you've got off to the side, and you're just going to plant it down right into your groin and let the end of it come down onto the tops of your feet. And once again, maybe just let your elbows rest on that bolster. And if those blocks become sort of too cumbersome or too restrictive in allowing your body to soften, you can always start to just kind of scoot them out towards the outer edges of your knees. So moving them further away from your body will cause your knees to lower a little bit more. And here, with your elbows resting on that bolster, which is resting right on top of your feet, you can close your eyes and start to go inside and just breathe. And as you feel the muscles, the ligaments, your body just start to soften, you can slowly decide, if you like, to move those blocks out from underneath your knees if that is within a comfortable range for you. And maybe walk your hands out towards the end of that bolster and let your belly come down onto the support of it. Maybe then your forehead. And my arms are reached out in front of me, so I'm kind of gripping onto the end of that bolster. Totally optional if that feels good for you. If it doesn't, you can always let your hands come down to the sides of the bolster and just palms can rest on the mat. It just depends on how you're feeling. And here we're just going to take 3 deep breaths. So go ahead and inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. And last time, inhale. And exhale out.
And just let your breath return to normal. Return to its regular, normal, usual cadence, whatever feels good in this shape. Again, we are compressed in the front body, so you may feel like you have a little bit of restriction on the breath, but we're going to reverse that here in a moment. And then when you're ready, just slowly start to walk your elbows back in under your chest. Keep your head kind of down, keep your gaze down towards the floor. Slowly start to walk your heart back up. Let your head come up last once again. Let those shoulder blades drop down your back. Let your crown of your head lift. And then you can go ahead and just shift that bolster off to the side. And before we close our legs, just make sure you reach out to the outside edges of your knees and use your arms to just slowly close those legs. Maybe walk your feet out a little bit further. Take your hands behind your hips. They can face out towards the side or towards the back, whatever feels good. And just here, windshield wiper your knees left and right. Just let your pelvis shift, balancing out some of that stillness with a little bit of movement here. And then from here, go ahead and turn so that your head is towards the left side of your mat and walk your feet around. And you should have one block up at the top of your mat and one block down at the base. Just move the block that's at the base of the mat off to the left or right in a place where you can reach for it. And we're going to keep that block that's back at the top of our mat where it is. And just gently kind of come down onto your back. And I don't know about you, but I've had a bit of a headache today, so I'm just going to let my head rest on that block. My block is on its lowest setting. And I'm finding a place where the back of my head is in contact with the block. I have my arms up kind of in goalpost position, but I'm also reaching towards that block with my fingertips. And from here, just start to gently turn your head to the left and then to the right. You're going to sort of trace a rainbow with your nose, like you're making a rainbow right over your heart. Just gently shaking the head from the right to the left, right on that occiput, essentially, right on the place where your neck and your skull meet. Move slowly, compassionately. Be with whatever may come up for you. If you're like feeling a little bit like things are moving really too slow, just kind of welcome that feeling in, right? Be curious about it instead of chasing it away, thinking it's bad, thinking it's something wrong. Be curious about where it's coming from and what you might need. And here, as you move your head left and right, just let your shoulder blades kind of slide down your back. See if you can lengthen the space between the tops of your shoulders and the base of your skull. And as you do this really gentle, slow rocking from left to right with just your brain, with just your skull, see if you can soften your breath. See if maybe you can take a deeper breath. And we'll do one more to each side, so whichever side you're on, that counts as one. And then the opposite side is 2. And we're just going to come back to center and just for a moment, very gently lift up your skull and just slide that block out from underneath your head. Let your head come back to rest on the mat. Walk your feet in towards your pelvis, so your knees are pointed towards the sky, your feet are planted on your mat, and that block that you placed down by your hips or the block that you took out from underneath your head, whichever is more accessible for you, you're just going to set it on either its lowest setting or its middle setting, so however you'd like. I'm going to take mine on its middle setting. I'm looking for a little bit more opening into the front body. We're going to come up into a supported bridge. So press your heels and soles of your feet down and slowly, thoughtfully, meticulously lift your pelvis up off the mat. So you're coming into a bridge. And then when you're there, go ahead and kind of scooch that block around so that when you come down, the back of your pelvis is resting on that block. Find a place for that block that feels the most supportive. There shouldn't be a lot of stress in your low back. You should feel a stretch and an opening into the fronts of your hips. And you can kind of adjust where that block sits. I kind of tend to like to move my block a little bit more just above like really the meaty part of my rear end because that's where it just feels the most supported, kind of the broadest part of my pelvis. And here, what I'd like you to do is just very slowly and very slightly windshield wiper your knees left and right. So dropping the left knee in towards the midline just a little, breathing in through the center, and then dropping the right knee in towards the midline just a little. So I'm moving with my breath, and your breath may be different than mine. So whatever pattern you're breathing in, move with that. I like the idea of breathing in as I come up and breathing out as I drop off to the side. So these are really small movements. They're not super big. They're really subtle. But just let the backs of your shoulders expand as you breathe in. Feel the opening through your chest. If you'd like, you can take your hands down towards that block. Maybe let the palms turn up. Let the arms fall away from your body as you continue that left and right rocking. And we'll take 2 more left and rights. So there's one to the left. There's one to the right. And there's the second one to the left. And the second one to the right. And then just let your knees come to center. And here, once again, just press down into your feet, lift your hips, slide that block off to the left or right, and slowly, 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 like you're working from the mid-back down to the pelvis, just letting each vertebrae come down with control. Maybe close your eyes and see where you perceive the ground to be. See where you perceive the floor to be. And notice that as your hips fall, you're like, oh, wait, where is it? It's not there yet. Ah, there it is. Okay. And then just let your knees knock together. Take your hands to your belly. Take a breath. Feel the expansion of your breath into your hands. And feel your belly button move towards your spine as you exhale. Do that one more time, just letting the breath move in and move out. And then if you put that bolster off to the side, just within reaching distance, go ahead and slide it around so that you can slide it underneath your knees. And we're going to come into just a nice restorative supported Shavasana. So I've placed that bolster right underneath my thighs, the backs of my knees, and I'm going to extend my legs out and let my feet kind of broaden and flop to the side. And today I'm feeling a little bit more like I want to be in contact with my body. This is a good option. One hand on your belly, one hand on your heart. Let your elbows drop to the earth and be supported. You can always, If you're feeling a little bit more like you want to take up space, you can separate your arms, reach up overhead, or take your arms out to a T. Just kind of whatever's feeling good for you in your space. And here, once you've found a place you can settle, go ahead and shrug your shoulders up towards your ears. Walk your shoulder blades slightly up and then press your elbows down into the mat so that you're extending, kind of reaching through the low back. And then here, release that tension, release any holding. Take your hands to whatever position you'd like. And just close your eyes and start to go inside. And here, as you go inside, if your hands are on your body, just notice where any kind of emotion or emotional thought or instinct arises in your body. So for me, with my hands on my body, I feel this bit of a tension underneath my rib cage where my left hand is resting. And it's definitely not a physical tension, it's more of an emotional tension. But as I breathe, I'm just kind of inviting a softness in. As my aunt said to me, breathe in sunshine, breathe out stress. So consider that as a little silent mantra that you can repeat as you breathe, especially if you notice that there's tension in your body in some particular place. And as you silently repeat that mantra to yourself, just welcome in sensation. Welcome in everything. The sounds, your breath, your heartbeat, maybe a snuggle from a favorite furry friend. Whatever it is, just welcome it in. There's no part of our experience, there's no part of our bodies that we should try to separate, try to isolate, try to keep away. And in this restorative practice, just welcoming in sensation, welcoming in a sense of calm, welcoming in a sense of sunlight can be really beneficial to dissolving any sort of long-held tension. Take a few more soft, gentle breaths. Let your body soften onto the mat. Let any thoughts that you're holding spill out onto the earth. There's no need to hang on. Just let them be, let them go. We'll spend a few moments here just in silence, enjoying the steady inhale and exhale of our bodies. And then when you're ready, just slowly begin to deepen your breath. Invite some waves of movement back into your body, maybe wiggling your fingers and your toes. Maybe on your next inhale, taking a nice long good morning stretch. And then gently bending your knees and drawing your knees in towards your chest, or letting your feet rest on that bolster or that pillow, and just dropping the knees off to the left or right, shifting your hips and rolling off to that side, finding a little support. Let your palms ground down. And when you're ready, just gently roll your shoulders more towards the earth and press down to sit up and find an easy seat, whatever shape that looks like. And then once you've found an easy seat, with your eyes closed, just once again, let your heart lead. Lift your heart, slide your shoulder blades down your back, and lift the crown of your head towards the sky. Take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, just imagine any tension melting out of your shoulders, out of your low back, out of your hips into the earth. And then gently take your hands to heart center and let your thumbs rest against your sternum. As you feel your chest lift slightly back up into your thumbs, gently bow your head towards your heart and seal in any of this release, any of this softness that you've brought after our practice. All of the love and light in me bows to and honors all of the love and light in each one of you. Namaste.